Welcome to episode number 33 of the Dugout Report. I am here with NBC LA sports reporter Michael Duarte, recapping the crazy Dodgers Phillies series. And tonight, uh, as of now, it's 2 a.m. on the East Coast. And so it's really yesterday. The Phillies came into Dodger Stadium uh, with their bats up against the wall and really dived deep into the batter's box.
Say that one more time, Alex. I'm ready to dive in, but what were you saying?
Oh, I was just saying that the bats looked deep, and they looked ready to just completely thrive.
I'm not sure what the question is, but what I'll say, we talked about this before when the Dodgers and Phillies played in Philadelphia. And I was letting you know going into that series that this wouldn't tell us a whole lot because the Dodgers pitching wasn't lined up. They were throwing three straight rookies, whereas like the Phillies were able to line up Nola and Wheeler. And so even coming into this series, you could argue it's the same because like the Dodgers didn't get to see Wheeler. They did get to see Nola. They did get to see Christopher Sanchez, who's just been absolutely crushing it lately. And if he can continue to pitch like that, then the Phillies definitely have a weapon that they can unleash in the postseason. I know he didn't start pitching that well for them, but he's been pitching great lately for the Phillies. And so, being able to do what he did against this potent Dodgers lineup in game two, like Christopher Sanchez, like I tip my cap, I got to watch him live. Tyler Phillips obviously struggled, but I don't think he'd be in the postseason rotation. I don't think Gavin Stone's going to be in the postseason rotation for the Dodgers either. But there's two things I want to say, Alex, just to start off and kick off this podcast. And I know we're going to get into the interference call, and we better because I'm so angry about it. But what I can say to you is that two things. One, I think this series in Los Angeles was a better representation of what these two teams can do. Each game was very close until the late innings. Phillies pulled away in game two and game three with a bigger lead. Game one was close. Game two was close most of the game. Game three was close up until that obstruction call changed everything. And the Dodgers could have ended up winning that game potentially. And the whole thing could have played out differently. But moreover, that tells you how tight these series are, and they're going to be in the postseason between really good teams. And like I told you the last time we talked about this on the podcast, outside of, say, whoever the third wild card team in the National League is going to be at this point, the Braves, the Phillies, the Padres, the Diamondbacks, the Dodgers, the Brewers, they're all really, really good teams, all bunchly tight together. And these series in the postseason, they're all going to be very close. Starting pitching, high leverage bullpen is going to be so important in these series. And one play can change the course of a game and can change the course of a series. And in the case of this rubber match tonight in Los Angeles, that obstruction call changed the course of the game, ultimately changed the course of the series. But what I can say definitively, and I can't believe I'm saying this, but it's just true right now, the Phillies are better than the Dodgers right now. The Padres are better than the Dodgers right now. They haven't played the Diamondbacks yet, but the Diamondbacks, in my opinion, are better than the Dodgers right now. To me, the Phillies should be the National League pennant winning favorites to go to the World Series. And I say that to you, Alex, as of today, right now, August 6th, 2024, on this podcast, because the Dodgers are still waiting for Mookie Betts to come back, which, could happen here pretty soon. Max Muncy is going to go on a rehab assignment. That's 30 home runs, left-handed power, and you're starting third baseman in your lineup. He could be back in the next couple of weeks. Obviously, Brusdar Graterol came back through 8 pitches, tore his hamstring, and he might not be back the rest of the way. That's a big blow for them. They just got Jack Flaherty added to this rotation, who they didn't have when they played him in Philadelphia before the All-Star break. That's going to help. So we don't, and there's still other guys that are hurt. Yoshi Yamamoto threw a bullpen session on yesterday, which was Tuesday. He thinks he can come back and make a couple rehab assignments. Walker Buehler's still in AAA on rehab assignment. So the good news, the silver lining for Dodger fans, if they're listening to your show, Alex, is that, and they're probably not, mostly it's probably Philly fans, but if there are any Dodger fans listening, or even Philly fans that are, worried about the Dodgers or not worried about the Dodgers, the silver lining for the Dodgers here is that they are not whole. They still haven't seen their complete team yet. Reinforcements are hopefully coming. And until this team is fully healthy, I can't tell you if they'll be able to beat the Phillies in a 7-game series. But right now, I can tell you, I don't think they can.
Yeah. I wanted your thoughts on how the Phillies offense tacked off in the beginning of the game, and then just completely uh, made sure that their bats were cooking continuously throughout the fifth to the ninth inning. And looking forward to the Arizona series, what are your thoughts on how this team can collaborate into winning back-to-back series?
Yeah, it's tough. I'll say that. It's very tough for Philadelphia now. It doesn't get any easier. You have 4 with Arizona, who is one of the hottest teams in baseball. The Padres are the hardest team in baseball as well. Thankfully, if they can get out of the desert, just splitting that series, I think they have 4 games with the Snakes. If they can just split that series for Philadelphia, I think that's a good thing, just the way Arizona's been playing, because then you get to go home and you get Miami and Washington, and that could be like 6 straight wins, and you could get kind of bounced back that way. And then obviously that big series with the Braves and Atlanta comes after that. But they have a big enough lead that I'm not concerned. So if you're Philadelphia, split that series in Arizona. If you can win 3 of 4, that's a huge victory. I don't necessarily think they're going to be able to do that, but coming off the momentum of this Dodger series, I think if they can split that series, that's a victory for them. Look, Nick Castellanos couldn't hit the bride side of a barn entering this series with the Dodgers. He got hot this series, right? And he did it against Tyler Glasnow, Clayton Kershaw, really good pitchers that the Dodgers threw out there. So that's a good sign if you're the Phillies that Castellanos is swinging the bat better. I think he had a couple doubles in this 3rd game here. Alec Bohm had a good series offensively at the plate. Bryce Harper didn't have as good of a series as I thought, because he usually kills the Dodgers. But instead of him killing the Dodgers, it was Kyle Schwarber killing the Dodgers. In the finale of this series, 4 for 4, 3 home runs, a double, 7 RBIs. He had a home run the night before, so that gives him 4 home runs in 24 hours. Second time in his career he's ever hit 3 home runs in a game. His first time he's ever done it with the Phillies. So, and what I saw later on in the game from the press box was that his 7 RBIs against the Dodgers were the most by any opponent since Hunter Renfroe and Hunter Pence. So he's the first person not to be named Hunter to knock in 7 RBIs against the Dodgers. He was a one-man wrecking crew. And that's kind of what I mean, right? So, okay, let's say, and we'll get into it, but let's say that obstruction call had gone the right way. And he was out at third. A couple plays later, the inning's over. Schwarber never even gets to bat that inning. The wild pitch doesn't happen. The home run never happens. The Dodgers are still leading 4-3. Now, I don't know what happens from there. Maybe the Dodgers put in different relievers. Maybe we see a different situation. But the way Schwarber was swinging the bat, he's going to get another at bat the next inning, and he probably gets another at bat in the 9th inning, and he still probably hits, a home run or double or something. So we never know what happens. I don't think the score would have been 9-4 if that obstruction call had been done correctly. But I think the Phillies still would have probably rallied and come back and win the game. That's what I think.
What went through your mind when you saw the obstruction call?
Perfect. Yeah. I wish, I don't know if you're able to show the replay on your podcast here. I know you do video for it. I've watched the replay, I would say at least 20 times now. I watched it just before I came on with you here, and also was in the locker room getting quotes from Miguel Rojas, Dave Roberts. Look, I don't know what you want to, I don't know. Look, my thoughts were, when I saw it in real time, I said, how can he be called safe? I didn't understand it. Then I understood that Hunter Wendelstedt called obstruction. Then I saw it on replay and I said, that's got to be the worst obstruction call I've ever seen. The way the rule is written is to prevent a player from blocking the bag from the runner trying to come in so that they can't touch the bag, right? To create interference or block it so they can't do it. Obviously, we know that rule as the Buster Posey rule, right? Remember Buster Posey was blocking the plate. He got run into, he broke his arm, and they changed the rules so that you couldn't block the plate anymore. It was called the Buster Posey rule for home plate. And we've seen obstruction calls and interference called at home plate a lot, right? Where the throw arrives before the runner, and if the catcher is blocking the plate and the runner doesn't have a path to home plate or the bag because he's blocking it, then you can call obstruction. Then you can call interference. The rule becomes a little bit more gray when the throw leads the catcher up the line a little bit, so he's blocking, but he's catching it at the same time, right? And the reason why I bring that up is because in this case, this was a bang-bang play at third base. Miguel Rojas is a shortstop going over to cover third. The third baseman is feeling the grounder and turning to it. So my point is Miguel Rojas is not sitting on third base, standing on third base, waiting for the ball, or already holding the ball and blocking third base. He is literally running at the same time as the runner is, catching the ball mid-run, and then turning to tag. The thing that really makes it not obstruction in my book, Alex, and I know Philly fans might disagree with me, is his legs are spread. So the runner had a clear path to put his hand on third base if he wanted to. His right foot is away from the bag. His left foot is to the left of the bag. The obstruction call is between the legs. The runner can put his hands between the legs. I don't see how that's obstruction. The base was open. And he got the tag down, and he's doing all this in one motion, right? He's running to third. He's catching the ball. He's trying to get himself in position and lay down a tag to get the runner out, all in one motion. To me, I don't see how that can be obstruction at all. How many plays do we see when runners steal a base, right? And the second baseman or shortstop is set up blocking the bag. Those could be called obstruction calls, right? The way they could block if you can't get a hand in. And we don't see them called very often. This is the first time I've seen this called against the Dodgers all year. And this is a veteran umpire who, in my opinion, and if you watch the replay, he's behind third base making the call. You're calling interference obstruction when you don't even have a clearer view the way the runner does. You're calling it from behind with your back blocked behind Rojas. I don't even know how you can make that call from that angle. That would be a better angle from the second base umpire to see that. So that's also extremely frustrating in this situation. And then the biggest thing, Alex, is it's not reviewable. So if you want to call it, and this is just the truth. How many plays in this game? You and I watched this game together. I was there, obviously. You watched it on television or on your laptop, I think you said. How many plays did Thompson challenge in this game, right? 3, I think. He was 3 for 3 on challenges. Remember, there was the Freddie Freeman safe at first base play. They challenged it. He was out. There was another play in the game. I think Castellanos going into second for a double, originally called out. You overturned it, right?
Yeah.
And I'm saying here, those were the right calls. It was a different call on the field. So what I'm saying to you in those cases was an umpire made a call. The Phillies manager was able to say, can you look at it again? And when we saw it slow motion, slow down replay review, we said, hey, that wasn't the right call. And they overturned it to the correct call. As a Dodger fan, it sucked because all 3 calls went against the Dodgers, but they were the right calls on replays. And I think you would agree too, right? I'm not sitting here saying Nick Castellanos was out at second base. No, he got his hand there before the tag. Tag was made in the chest, not the hand. And he did a good job of putting the hand in before he got tagged. He should have been safe. He was safe. The play at first, Freddie was out by a half a step. Those were the rules. You can't challenge this obstruction call. And to me, that's a problem. Because at the end of the day, we're supposed to just get everything right? To make sure that the integrity of the game is controlled correctly, to make sure that everything is fair, that there's no disadvantages or advantages for any team. And so in this situation, I think if that was a reviewable call, I think Secaucus, New Jersey, or whoever reviews this and makes the call, they would have said he's out. I think that's what would have happened. I don't think they would have said, no, he definitively and with 100% blocked or obstructed the bag. I don't think that call. And if that call could have been challenged and overturned, it's a totally different inning. It's a totally different game, and then potentially a totally different outcome of the series. And so my biggest thing here is that, you know, we should be able to challenge, everything should be able to be challenged or reviewed if that's what we're going to do that. And unfortunately it wasn't, and it cost the Dodgers in this one. And I just think it's not right. And like I said to you, I still think Schwarber's getting 2 more at bats, and the way he was swinging the bat, I think the Phillies probably end up still winning. You just hate to see it happen on a play like that, right? Where he was clearly out, the tag was made. It was a very good baseball play, in my opinion. It was a bang bang play. So to have it overturned and on something silly like that you don't see happening is just it's a, I don't know, it's a catastrophe, I think.
What do you think about like for the future of the game of baseball? Do you think that they would do something about it, or they'll just leave it as is?
I mean, I don't know. There's a possibility the Dodgers may try to contest this game with MLB because of it. More than likely, that doesn't mean anything. Look, the MLB might say Hunter Wendelstedt got the call wrong, but that's not how we want obstruction called. That we want obstruction called when the fielder is there before the runner and intentionally blocking or obstructing the base, not when he's trying to run to the base, catch the ball, and lay down a tag all at the same time. You know what I mean? It's there because it's there for that, for the Buster Posey rule we talked about. It's there because when a ball at home plate on a bang bang play arrives before the runner, you want to. Another great example is that Nick Castellanos play, right? When he was at second, with the one we were talking about that got challenged. It wasn't obstruction, but let's say, so what Nick was able to do well, the ball arrived at second base before Nick did, right? But Nick got his left hand and the tag was coming at Nick's chest. But because his hand was extended, his hand touched the bag before the glove touched his chest. And so if you're the umpire, I can see why he was called out in real time, because the ball arrived before Nick did at the second base and the tag was applied. And if you're looking at it, he looked out, right? But when you looked on replay, his hand was extended far to the left and it touched the base before the tag got there. And when you slow it down on replay, it's so close, but it was safe. And the right call was that he was safe in that situation. Now, the whole point of the rule is if someone's blocking second base, that doesn't allow for Nick to even touch it, then he's always going to be out. You know what I mean? And that's not fair. You want an opportunity for the runner to be able to do something like that, reach with their left hand, maybe if someone's going to tag him on the left, he can pull his left hand back like the Olympic swimmers and touch with his right hand, you know? So you want the runner to be able to have a clear pathway to the bag. And if you really look at that play at third, the obstruction one, Miguel Rojas, his legs are wide open. There is space between his legs for the runner to touch the bag.
Yeah, that's a hard part of baseball nowadays. I just wish that everything went smoother, and I mean, just it's just hard to put in words of like how it really is in reality. And I hope something gets fixed.
Yeah, I agree. And then look, the best way to fix it is just make everything reviewable. So instead of it being a play that changes the game and has Dave Roberts ejected and everyone's yelling and screaming, they can just say, okay, Hunter, you thought it was obstruction. We think differently. Put on the headset, review it, and let the people in New Jersey who have the rules and everything in front of them, let them decide if it's safe or out. And that would have been the best way to go. That's the whole point of having replay review, right? So that everybody gets it right and the integrity of the game is intact. That's what I think everybody wants to happen and should have happened. And in this case, it didn't happen. And I think that's the easiest way to make sure it doesn't happen again, because umpires are human. We saw them make a mistake 3 times already in the same game against the Phillies, but the Phillies were able to review it all and get it right. So in this case, the Dodgers should have been able to review it and get it right, and they weren't. And that's, I think, where the frustration lies. I'm not sure. Trying to remember that inning. Trying to remember that inning. I think it was Brandon Marsh, right? Who he was the one who was tagged out there. So like if Brandon Marsh is
Yeah.
out, I don't even know if the pitching change comes in at that point. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. But I think the overall point would have been that Bryson Stott's fly out would have ended that inning. And
Hmm.
then you would have had Schwarber come up maybe third in the next inning, and who knows? Maybe Schwarber hits a game-tying solo home run instead of a game-changing 3-run home run that really opened the door, and that would have just been a completely different thing. And could you imagine? Could you imagine, Alex, if this was Game 7 of the NLCS, Dodgers Phillies, and this call's made?
Hmm.
Like this,
Yeah.
you'd have riots in the street. Like this isn't how you want a game decided that decides who's going to the World Series in Game 7, do or die. You want to make sure you get it right.
Hmm.
So you're right. They got to clean it up and fix it before that happens.
Yeah. So looking ahead, what are your thoughts on Pittsburgh coming to town?
Yeah, so the Pirates have been playing well. They just went into the Padres and the Padres beat them. They beat them and needed extra innings to do it today. Pittsburgh, surprisingly though, they played the Dodgers really well the last few years. It was funny because I think the Dodgers, um, prior to last season, Alex, had won, I don't know, something like 14 in a row against Pittsburgh, something crazy like that. But Pittsburgh beat them in the season series last year. They played 4 games uh, against Pittsburgh, I think in April. Oh no, sorry, that was the Phillies. So the Dodgers played at Pittsburgh, excuse me, earlier this year. I think it was, if it wasn't in April, then it was in May, I guess. Um, but I think Pittsburgh took 2 or 3 in that series, if I'm recalling correctly. And so they have a chance here if the Dodgers don't sweep to at least even the season series this year in the best of 6 at 3 games apiece. Or if they can win 2 of 3, because the way the Dodgers have been playing lately, they're struggling, and they're right for the picking. If the Pirates can come into Dodger Stadium and take 2 of 3, then they're going to win 4 of 6 or 5 of 6 in this series, 4 of 6 in this series, and that's 2 years in a row they've won the season series against them. So it's going to be a tough task for the Dodgers. Mitch Keller has been excellent. He was a guy the Dodgers I know wanted at the trade deadline last year. He's going to be pitching in Game 1. And then you have Paul Skeens, the All-Star, National League All-Star starter in the All-Star game, who may be your front runner for Cy Young after he was called up in the middle of the season, pitching in Game 2. That's not good for the Dodgers. And my guess is the Dodgers are probably going to throw Jack Flaherty against Mitch Keller, and then they're probably going to throw a rookie, probably River Ryan, against Paul Skeens.
Hmm.
It'll be interesting to see what Jack Flaherty does in his Dodger Stadium debut. But Mitch Keller's nasty. And if the Dodgers
Hmm.
don't get to him, I could see the Pirates winning the first 2 games of the series, and then it's lights out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you got Tyler Glasnow on Sunday in the final game of that series against Bailey Falter, I think. I think that's a game the Dodgers should win, but you got to at least split the first 2 in order to win the series. So I don't think it looks good for them against the Pirates in this weekend series.
It should be interesting to see what the outcome of that series is. Uh, Thank you so much for coming on and taking a couple minutes out of your night to talk Dodgers Phillies, and I hope to have you back on soon.
Yeah, definitely. And what I'll say real quick, Alex, before I jump off here is for Dodgers fans watching, or Phillies fans, or baseball fans in general, I think the Padres and Diamondbacks are now only 3 behind the Dodgers in the NL West. The Dodgers got to go against Mitch Keller and Paul Skeens this weekend. Then they go to Milwaukee, who's first place in the Central. Then they're going to have to play the Mariners, who are fighting for first place in the AL West. Then 3 at Baltimore at some point, or home against Baltimore at some point this month. I wouldn't be surprised if that lead is gone at some point here in the month of August, and if they get caught by the Padres or Diamondbacks. I really wouldn't. Now, the good news is, as we've seen in the playoffs the last couple of years, and this could be the case for the Phillies, Alex, maybe you don't want the first round bye, you know? Maybe you want to play in a wild card series and don't lose rhythm and momentum or rust, you know? Maybe you want to go straight into it. Look what happened to the Braves last year. Look what happened to the Dodgers last year. So maybe you don't want that first round bye. I don't know. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if we see the Padres and Diamondbacks catch the Dodgers before the Dodgers finally get healthy and get Mookie Betts back and Max Muncy and Yoshi Yamamoto back and get these guys back and really make a push come September.
Yeah, it'll be fun to watch and see what happens. So thanks again, and wish you the best of luck the rest of the season.
Thanks again. Thanks, Alex. Have a good night.
Thank you.